Okay, so today we're looking at the quadratic formula. So this basically does what flag and cross does. So if you remember back to chapter 7, in chapter 7, when we had whole number answers, so x minus 5 times x plus 2 or something like that, we just used flag and cross. Flag and cross worked. When we used completing the square, it effectively gave us decimal answers because there were square roots in there. Okay, so when we used completing the square, we got something like x minus 2 plus the square root of 7 times x minus 2 minus the square root of 7. Effectively, this is a decimal. Okay, this is a decimal. Okay, so we've got decimal solutions. Okay, and that's why we needed to use completing the square. So what we've got here in chapter 8.3 is we've got this quadratic formula, and quadratic formula actually uses completing the square. Now, on page 306 of your textbook, there is a derivation of the formula, where the formula actually comes from. Okay, you do not have to know that. You can look at it if you want. You can look, and I strongly encourage you on page 306 just to work through and see if you can follow the steps, but you do not have to remember it. You do not have to even understand where it comes from, but if you do, that's a bonus and advantage for you. Okay, so have a look, and just pause the video now, go and have a look, and then come back and I'll explain how we use the formula. Okay, so now you've had a little bit of a look at where it comes from, and bear in mind you don't need to understand, this is the quadratic formula. So x equals minus b plus or minus, so there's two solutions. Remember when we factorise, we get two solutions. So if we had something like x minus 1, x plus 2, we'll get two solutions. Okay, so that's what the plus or minus does, gives us the two solutions. Square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so what are all the a, b's and c's? Okay, so this is the general form of the equation. A is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of the x, and c is a number that's out on its own. So if we had this one here, x squared plus 2x minus 8, then a equals 1, so it's 1 times x squared, a equals 1. b equals 2, because it's 2 times x, the coefficient of x is 2. And c equals, so it's plus c here, and it's minus 8, so c equals minus 8. So, if we're going to work out our solutions, we go, and hopefully I've got enough room here, I might have to go up and do it in two columns, but we'll see how it goes. We go x equals minus 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 8 over 2 times 1. Now I'm going to work out this bit first. Okay, I'm always going to work out, so this bit here, I'm always going to work out that first. And then you'll find out that becomes quite important as to how our solution works. So we're going 4, so I'm going to go up there, we go 4 minus, so we got 4 times 1 is 4, times 8 is 32, it's negative 8, so it's going to be 4 plus 32. Okay, 4 plus 32 is 36. So we've got the square root of 36. Okay, so x equals minus 2 plus or minus the square root of 36 over 2. Okay, this bracket ended up being 36, so this under the square root sign ended up being 36. That's the square root of 36, which is 6. So effectively we've got negative 2 plus or minus 6 over 2. Okay, so we branch off and we can say x equals minus 2 plus 6 over 2. That's 4 over 2. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4, divided by 2, x equals 2. Or x equals negative 2 minus 6 over 2. That's negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. So there are two solutions for x, 2 and negative 4. I'll have a look at some more examples, okay? Main things I want you to take out of this, I'm just going to erase that extra writing I've just put over the top there because it's really important. You need to have that quadratic formula copied down. Okay, so make sure you copy down the quadratic formula. The whole lot has been your bound reference where you can see it. You're going to use that quite a lot. Okay. One thing, when I come back to math teaching after 15 years of being out in other places, this was the one formula that I had remembered. Okay, you use it a lot in your maths going forward. X equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples. This one's going to have an exact answer, like the one we just had before. So for it to have an exact answer, that means we're going to get a square number under the square root sign, but we'll just work out and see. So we've got here, a equals 3, coefficient of x squared, b equals 4, and c equals 1. Okay, first of all, so we've got over here, x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. B squared, minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. I just put the numbers into that formula. Okay, you can look back at your formula and look at this because you've got the formula copied into your bound reference. So we go and I'm just going to go and do this bit. So that's going to be 16 minus 12. 4 times 3 is 12 times 1. 16 minus 12 is 4. So we've got x equals minus 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 over 6. Okay. Square root of 4 we know is 2, so we've got x equals minus 4 plus or minus 2 over 6. Now this is the bit that gets people. There are two solutions because we've got the plus solution and the negative solution. So we go x equals minus 4 plus 2 over 6. Okay, that's the plus solution. Minus 4 plus 2 is minus 2 over 6, which is equal to minus 1/3. That's an exact answer. And here, so then I'm going to say or x equals minus 4 minus 2 over 6. So this is the negative answer. That's where we get the two answers from. So we're breaking this up into its plus and its minus. So that's going to be minus 6 over 6, which is just minus 1. So there are two solutions for x. Remember, what we're actually finding here is where this graph cuts the axes. So it's cutting the axes, the x-axis, it's cutting the x-axis at minus 1/3 and at 1. Okay, so that's the two places it's cutting the axes. So the graph would look something like that. Okay, so let's have a look at a second example, and you can go and do some yourself. This one we're going to have to round down answer to 2 decimal places. So we've got here A equals minus 3, B equals minus 6, C equals minus 1, all negatives, beautiful. So X equals minus B, minus negative 6 is plus 6. Plus or minus the square root, negative 6 squared. So when we do this, we've got to square the whole lot. Sorry, I'm going to do that more neatly. Okay, we've got to go minus 6 squared minus 4 times negative 3 for A times negative 1 over 2 times negative 3. So let's be careful with our negatives. So just over to the side here, we've got negative 6 squared is 36, the negative disappears, and we've got here 4 times negative 3 is negative 12, sorry, negative 4, we'll call that negative 4 times negative 3 is 12, times negative 1 is minus 12. Okay, if you're not sure about that, just put the whole thing into your calculator and let your calculator work it out for you. But we've got negative 4 times negative 3 is 12, times 1 is still 12, but it's a negative, so it's minus 12. Okay, the other way will be, okay, and so that equals 24. So we have X equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 24 over negative 6. Okay, so this time we've got to put into our calculator X equals 6 plus the square root of 24 over negative 6, or X equals 6 minus the square root of 24 over negative 6. Just be careful when you're putting that into your calculator, make sure you put brackets around the top. So we do the top first. You either do that or hit an equal sign before you do the division. Otherwise you're just dividing the second term. So I've got bracket 6 plus square root of 24, close brackets, divided by negative 6, and I get negative, I said to round to 2 decimal places, so negative 1.82. And then our second one, bracket 6, bracket 6 minus the square root of 24, close bracket, divided by negative 6, and I get negative 0.18. Okay, so there are 2 solutions. That's it. That's all we're doing today, is using the quadratic formula to work out, and we're going to get 2 solutions pretty much every time. Okay. So those 2 examples I've done are the examples on page 307, and basically that's up to you to get some practice now. So today you're working on exercise 8.3, the tick sheet questions. I'm on Teams chat. If you need help, just ask. Okay. All the best with that. Make sure you get plenty of practice using the formula, and it's not a bad idea just to write A, B and C over the top. Write as much as you're working down as you can. Don't try and keep it in your head. All the best. I'll talk to you on Teams chat if you need help. Otherwise I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.